Hey guys, how are you? This is Yishai Breslauer, your host of the CRE SharkEye Show. And today we are celebrating show 100. That's what we're celebrating, show 100. And what are we going to do today? I'm going to reflect a little bit back about how this thing started, what you listen to, and why you listen to it. But before we even start, I just want to give you a glimpse of how it all started. Let's listen to the first show. Here it is. All right, guys, how you doing? This is my first live, I would say, on LinkedIn. On Facebook, I've done this times before, and also on YouTube, I've done this time and time. I said a few times beforehand. What I wanted to share with you guys today, I'm going to do this a lot. So what we are going to do basically is I want to talk to you about and tell you about my story, my origin story, how I started to get into real estate. Not even commercial real estate. That's a different story for another time. But how did I get that in the first place? And what did I do? And that's a story I hope you guys enjoy. It will give you some motivation, especially in these crazy times of COVID. And there's going to be also a podcast and a show that I'm going to make. And as you can see, the equipment is growing and stuff like that. So that's how it was 100 shows ago, in the very beginning, how this show started. It's a very interesting thing. I know you guys that are listening, and hopefully more and more people who are interested in commercial real estate will join us as we go along with a high quality that I focus on, meaning in terms of the content, in terms of the types of guests that I'm getting, in terms of the updates that we have all along and all the time. But I just want to reflect back how this thing started 100 shows ago. We're talking about the midst of the pandemic. The midst of a pandemic. Right before the pandemic, I was a CEO of a company, which if you want to listen to the whole show of how I got to do that, you can listen to the first few shows and how I got into CRE. And I think that's the show of how I got into CRE. That's not the first show. I think the second or third or something like that. So you can listen to that one. To make the story short, at a certain point, right before the pandemic, there was a point where I started going along and getting into doing some deals on my own, and all of a sudden, Corona hit. The timing couldn't be worse for me, for anyone, for you guys that are listening. It was crazy, and until today, we feel I would say the offshoots, the aftershocks that this pandemic brought to us. But what happened at the time, think about it. I'm sitting at home and just like everybody else, just like you guys, sitting at home, not being able to travel anymore, not being able to go anywhere anymore. The one word that everybody started saying repeatedly, that's the one word that everybody said repeatedly. It was pivot. How do you pivot? And I didn't even understand what pivot means, meaning what does it mean to pivot? Pivot what? And at that point, I understood that pivot means that you are in a situation where you have to start making a change, which I've done many times in life. It's just that word was overused in the times of the pandemic. All of a sudden, everybody started using that word pivot. And being a person who is dealing with real estate, especially commercial real estate, running a company, or going after deals such as condo development, or being an LP for condo development, or stuff like that, or running a team for doing those type of deals, or getting into prop tech and being in that scenery, I had absolutely zero to do with online marketing or online activity, or let alone podcasting. Podcasting was a thing that I would occasionally listen to in order to get some new ideas, some new inspirations about commercial real estate while I'm driving, while I was cooking or doing something else. I always, had those few podcasts that I would listen to about commercial real estate to get some new angles, some new niches, some new ideas. But all meaning to make a podcast, to create a podcast, to have a podcast of my own was out of the question. And the interesting part is that while we were stuck at home and we can't do anything else, it was like, what are we going to do now? Where are we going with it? What is our next step? So many things changed So it came to be that I started writing down materials that eventually became a course, a commercial real estate course. In the beginning, it wasn't a course. In the beginning, it was notes that I have written down in order to have maybe a book, maybe something else. And slowly I started understanding that people do courses, online courses. When I got into real estate, we didn't have online courses. We didn't have that ability to go and learn online. You had to go to actual course, live course, where you had to go and take consultations. You had to go find a mentor, what we call the real thing. But online courses, which are by far, I think, one of the best inventions at the time, we didn't have a chance. We couldn't do it. It didn't really exist. It existed, but it was not that popular. And I didn't have that privilege to take courses online in order to do that. Also, you're talking about the year of, I would say, anywhere between 2010, 2011, 12, etc. At that time, 2013, at that time, those definitely were not popular. So once the pandemic hit, it was clear that something is changing here. Could not travel, couldn't do anything. So what are we going to do now? What is our next step? What is my next step? What am I going to do? And an online course became something very interesting to me to do. But how do you do that? So you have to teach yourself from the beginning, from the very beginning, how to do it, how to get it done, how to record it, how to gather the material, what do you teach, etc. So out of the notes came, obviously, the materials, came the whole syllabus, came the whole program for the course, at least the first course that I made. I knew at that point that this is what I'm going to do. And I started getting all the materials and getting the board, getting the cameras, getting the microphones, getting all that stuff that I didn't even know how it works and how to operate those things, and the programming and the editing, especially, and to use all kind of programs, all kind of apps, online apps like Fiverr, etc., in order to use the professionals to create the branding for those things. And while I did that, I've joined a community called ClickFunnels. Some of you have known it. And the ClickFunnels community was a great place, a great, I would say, launchpad, which is the name of my course, CRE Launchpad. But it was a great launchpad for me to come up with more ideas of how to expand my online activity, which I have never done in that scale, except of being on LinkedIn, putting posts, etc. So a YouTube channel started. But there was one thing that I felt that I had to be more out there. And I was looking for something that would reflect me and my activity and my love for commercial real estate. And how can I serve best the people who listen to me, the people who would be interested in what I have to give or what I can share, etc. And at that point, I said to myself, podcast the best thing. Why? Because that's the best thing. People listen to information. That's how I learned more and more and more about commercial real estate. That's how I got more and gathered more ideas. And as a person who obviously was a teacher, a natural teacher, I said to myself, this is my thing. So in the beginning, I learned how to do it. I learned the first few rules about podcasting, first few I would say aspects of podcasting and how to get it done, how to upload the whole thing, etc. And once I did that, I started with my own personal story and slowly started getting into more market updates, more analysis about different type of asset classes. And at a certain point, I said, I'm ready now. And once I was done talking, I was done. If you could see, the first few episodes are basically me talking a lot about the different types of markets, asset classes, etc., types of deals, myself. And at a certain point, it was clear to me that it is time to start bringing guests. And I started bringing guests, and at a certain point, you guys are listening to it, and I thank you for being guests, and I thank you for being my listeners, and I hope you continue, because my focus until now and as of now is less on the, I would say, marketing of the show, etc. My focus is to bring the highest quality and the highest value for my listeners and for the people who are interviewed. So I bring the best interviewees, meaning the people who are the most interesting guests for my show, whether they are heavy hitters, which I had many people who have big businesses in commercial real estate, whatever asset class, whatever type of activity, whatever location in the US. And I had also the highest quality of professionals, whether they are attorneys, brokers of any sort, of any asset class, all the way up to appraisers, all the way up to people who coach meaning people who are active in the whole field, investors, fund managers, people who are syndicators, all aspects of commercial real estate, as well as prop tech, property technology, which became probably one of the most exciting aspects of real estate nowadays, because real estate market is evolving, it's changing. And you guys probably are seeing, the menorahs in the back of me. Today is the 8th day of the Hanukkah holiday, even though you see 4 because I'm recording it in the 4th day, in the 4th night of the Hanukkah holiday. You guys are seeing in the 8th day, which is the last day of Hanukkah. So happy 8th day of Hanukkah. And Hanukkah is all about the lights. It's all about bringing light, that every little bit of light is chasing out the darkness. So all you have to do is, when you have darkness, you can't push it. You can come with pitchforks and shove it and try to yell at it. You try to, I don't know what to do. You try to throw rocks at the darkness. Darkness will not go away. The only way darkness will go away is if you take a little candle and you light it, and all of a sudden darkness just moves. And that's how we do it. And the second I knew that this is the message I want to bring, and my message is commercial real estate, is to bring more light and to bring more ideas, to bring more quality for the people who are listening to this market, and they want to get more out of a podcast that they're listening to, not only a rah-rah or noise, let's listen to the cool next thing. No, I wanted to bring to the people the best value when they listen to me for 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes, doesn't matter. That would be one of the best 50 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes that they had experienced in the past whatever days. And they would feel that they got so much out of that time that I spent. That's what I focus on. So I really hope that you guys saw the light of what this podcast is bringing you, and how this thing is going, and how this thing is going to progress. So this is 100 shows that we're celebrating today. Again, we're celebrating 100 shows of the CRE SharkEye podcast. And a lot of people are asking me, how did you come to the CRE SharkEye Show name? So I'll tell you, today's the 100 shows. So we talk about the show. So I'm going to tell you. But it's a very interesting thing, because when I started my first course, which is called CRE Launchpad, I hired a copywriter to actually give me a lot of ideas for names. And one of the names was CRE SharkEye. And I said to myself, that's not so much for the course, but that's definitely a cool name, and I'll use it for something else. Little did I know that I'm going to have a podcast, and that's where the name went to. So today we are 100 shows going into the future for 100 more, 200 more, 300 more. And hopefully we're going to have special shows as we go on. We have a lot of recorded shows. And the way I do it, usually people think you record it, you put it live. I used to do it live in the beginning. But then, with the internet and all kind of things that could happen with the connection falling and all kind of things like that, I stopped doing it a live show, and I put it live on LinkedIn, which you could enjoy, Facebook, and on YouTube. YouTube is great because it's like a library, and you can always go back and listen to the previous shows, which are there. And there it's a playlist. You can listen from the beginning to the end, which is awesome. And you can always choose the best shows for you, whether you like industrial real estate, if you want to hear a broker, if you want to hear retail, you want to hear the new prop tech invention, or how the real estate market evolves. You want to hear someone who is a mega heavy hitter, how they made it in their business. You want to hear someone who took it from a very low point and became big. You want to hear an older person with their experience. You want to hear a younger person who did it in a very early age. You got it all there. And I urge you to go back, subscribe, And, give me some 5 stars. Give me some love if you're listening to this. Give me some love for the podcast. If you want to take courses and look into that, you can definitely look, obviously, into my courses. They're always in the tech side of things. You can click there. But basically, what I appreciate most is if you could go on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever, and give me some, whatever it is. I don't even know myself how this thing works. Give me some 5 stars, some great reviews. If you're enjoying the quality that I'm trying and I'm working so hard to bring you, and the value that I'm trying to bring you each and every time that I'm making this podcast, then I would appreciate if you could write down about that. And until next time, you guys, it was great serving you, and I hope to continue serving you for a very, very long time. Hope you guys have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day, and I'm going to see you in the 101